One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. The immortal words spoken by Neil Armstrong as he set foot on the moon in 1969.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
Roger, we got a roll from
Tower clear.
Roger, roll.
It was an expedition that would change space travel forever and make him famous around the globe. But why would one of the world's most famous astronauts come here to Langholm in the Scottish borders? To find out more about Neil Armstrong's connection to Langholm, I'm going to Gilnockie Tower to visit Ian at the Clan Armstrong Centre. So Ian, where are we currently sitting?
At the moment we're sitting on the first floor of Gilnockie Tower. This room was more or less the central home for the Armstrong family.
Was this Neil Armstrong's family?
We believe yes. There has been genealogical research carried out, and that was carried out by Neil Armstrong's own family. And the Esk Valley is very much in his timeline.
The Armstrongs expanded from their ancestral home in Langholm, emigrating to the United States in the 18th century. But I think it's safe to say Neil was the most well-travelled member of Clan Armstrong. At the time of the moon landings, the town clerk was Eddie Armstrong, who issued the invitation to Neil Armstrong to become the first and only Freeman of Langholm in 1972. The deputy town clerk at the time was Grace Brown, so I'm off to meet up with Grace to hear about some of her memories from the day. So tell us a wee bit about how this all came about then. How did one of the most famous men in the world end up walking on the moon to Langholm?
Well, you couldn't believe it, could you? This is Armstrong country, of course. And the fact that an Armstrong had walked on the moon, we couldn't let that go past us, could we?
But the first man on the moon was in high demand.
Bear in mind that this is a man who, only 3 years before, is being watched by an audience of 600 million people around the world.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Much to the town's delight, Armstrong accepted the invitation and travelled down for the ceremony.
This is a man who is regarded as a reluctant hero. He is a very humble man. There are many awards and many invitations from around the world that he doesn't take up. But he takes this up, and the infrastructure was a real issue. I mean, we're talking about having the parish church as the largest building, so they could barely fit maybe 1,500 people in.
But much like the team of astronauts and scientists responsible for the Apollo 11 mission, the people of Langholm achieved the impossible.
He was a very quiet, unassuming sort of man. He wasn't one to talk about his exploits at all.
He was interested in finding out about his family history and connecting with the people in Langholm.
And the people connected with him too.
The Langholm folk were obviously taken to him and listened to what he was saying, listened to his accent, and decided he wasn't a typical American. He's no like an American at all, was the expression heard literally hundreds of times from members of the crowd in the marketplace, the high street, in the Old Kirk and the Buccleuch Hall.
Taken by his down-to-earth charm, the people of Langholm bestowed Armstrong with their highest honour. Am I right in saying you'd never had a Freeman of the town before?
No, he was our first and only Freeman.
It was in this exact spot in 1972 that Neil Armstrong stood and took his oath to become a Freeman of the burgh of Langholm.
I, Neil Alden Armstrong, promise and swear that I shall be a true and faithful burgess of the burgh of Langholm. So I shall answer to God. It's said that the most difficult place to be recognized is in one's own hometown. And I consider this now my hometown.
That sort of statement really roused the audience in the church where he was awarded the freemanship, and it's something that's been talked about ever since, that Neil Armstrong was home.
To commemorate the special moment, the people of Langholm presented the Armstrongs with a rather unique gift.
His wife is presented with a sample of tartan that is struck as a celebration of the moon landing, a lunar tartan. Not only are their achievements being woven into the fabric of history, but also into the fabric of Scottish culture.
This is quite special, isn't it?
This is very special. There are very few bits left of the original in Scotland. It was designed by a chap called Ian Maxwell. He chose the colours to represent the colours which had been found in the moon, so to
It's
speak.
brilliant, because obviously, yeah, you can see the greys, the browns, and a bit of red.
A bit of red, yes.
Just to brighten it up.
Just to brighten it up.
But it turns out that Neil Armstrong isn't Scotland's only connection to space exploration.
Two of the first 4 men on the moon are of Scottish ancestry, and that's something that, shows just one of the many ways in which Scotland is involved in the early space race. Scottish scientists contribute to the early space race. The space shuttle Autolander is designed in Scotland, and even to this day, the majority of the CubeSat industry, the sort of cube satellites, are built in Glasgow, in fact.
But what exactly is a CubeSat? I'm meeting Nina at the Glasgow Science Centre to find out.
They're very small satellites. They usually have the same kind of technology, same kind of cameras that you've got in your phone. And we're using for anything from kind of communications to Earth observation, so it's all really useful stuff for us. I think it's really exciting that more small satellites, CubeSats, are actually built in Glasgow than anywhere else in Europe. We've got several companies who are now looking at kind of building and potentially even launching these satellites from Scotland, so we're starting to kind of really make an impact in space exploration.
Edinburgh-based Sky Rora is hoping to send the first commercial payload into space from Scotland, and they're taking inspiration from the Apollo era.
So this is the first stage of Black Arrow R3, the only UK rocket to have put a payload into orbit at all. Although we haven't had significant rocket or launch vehicle activity since '71, it exists as an example to show that we can do it. We have done it in the past, and that we can do it again.
Today, NASA scientists and astronauts continue Armstrong's legacy and inspire students by visiting schools across the country.
We think of him as a superhero, and he didn't think of himself that way at all. We're really just all ordinary kids from ordinary places, ordinary towns, ordinary schools.
When we get the opportunity to talk to young people around the world about this and see the glow in their eyes when they see things like Neil Armstrong walking on the moon, that was well before their time. They get to interact with astronauts who have lived on board the International Space Station and see the lights in their eyes of saying, these are things that I could do too, and I want to be a part of the challenge. That is my favorite part about being a part of the space program.
Neil passed away in 2012, and although he may be famous the world over, he's held in particular fondness by the people of Langholm.
You can't quite believe that you did shake somebody's hand who walked up there. It was, as I told them at the time, I'm not going to wash my hand for a fortnight.
You've washed them now, though, yeah?
Oh, I promise they're clean now.
From the surface of the moon, the Earth is but a pale blue dot drifting through the cosmos, and Langholm is microscopic. But to Neil Armstrong, Langholm was monumental. Langholm was home.